Did you ever have that uncle, kind of like Eddie at a Christmas vacation, and all of a sudden he starts out a joke at Christmas, and you hear this three guys walk into a bar? Well, I happen to know those other two guys. Three podcasters walk into a bar. Welcome. We are here with the David Blackmon. I mean, he is a legend around the energy world, and I am so honored to know him. He is on the Daily Caller. He's on a Telegraph. He's in Forbes. He's on the Energy Question, which is going phenomenal. And then he's also on the Energy Transition, which is in Brazil, the UK, Pakistan sometimes, and we've even got a few others. Hey, welcome, David.
Hey, man. Happy to be here. Before we get going, I want to show everybody my t-shirt, which is in honor of my favorite conspiracy theorist, Stu Turley. It's keeping score on who's been right, the experts or the conspiracy theorists. And I'm thinking
get a screenshot of that, and we need to post that on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Oh, we guys, I'm going to have our production team get us a t-shirt with the three podcasters and that t-shirt. I'm sorry, David, you just won t-shirt of the week, and we're gonna start.
Whoever you got, that'd be cool to put our logo on the shirt and then that on the back of it. Just a t-shirt, nothing much.
Right.
Oh no, and we are flat gonna just absolutely have a drawing for anybody that gives us likes and subscribes. We're sending out t-shirts, baby. We're sending out David, that was huge. And then we have coming around the corner. He's a big dog over there at Pecos Operating. He has the Crude Truth, and I mean the Crude Truth is a wild showcase of just everything. A dear friend and a wonderful guy. He's still in school. I think it's high school. Welcome, RT.
Welcome. A good. You caught me off guard, Stu. Thank you. You know, you give all these accolades that are definitely due to David. We talk about his t-shirt now. I don't know where am I or what day it is. Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Three Podcasters Walk Into a Bar. If you can't tell, if you're a first-time listener, thanks for sticking around this long. Stick around for the whole episode. We are three, but I like to think energy and people that have knowledge in the oil and gas or the energy space, and we like to cut loose a little bit on this episode and are on Three Podcasters because, as you mentioned, I have a great show called The Crude Truth where I do primarily focus on oil and gas and energy, but also I bring in people from all different types of entrepreneurs, from life coaches to insurance to even Americans for Prosperity and True Texans, and I even bring on candidates. So so it's a great show. Just trying to ride y'all's coattails, if that's all right, with my little show. But that's my moonlighting gig, and during the day I like to drill oil wells with Pecos Country Operating. So thank you, Stu, again for having me on and make me have to introduce myself.
This is a joint ugly baby with you guys, so I'm not having you on anyway here, dude. So, it's kind of like the ugly baby that gets left on the doorstep. That's what the Three Podcasters is, hey, rock on. David, I love your articles. I steal them all the time. And your article on your Substack, Energy Transition Absurdities, this morning is phenomenal. The UAE is ditching the petrodollar, and I loved your article. You want to tee that off?
Yeah, that's a big deal, I think. UAE is one of the big oil countries in the Middle East. It doesn't produce quite as much as Iran, I think, but it probably is the third largest behind Iran and Saudi Arabia. And for them to be now announcing that they're going to make oil trades in local currencies rather than the US dollar, which has been the currency of mark in international oil trades for over 100 years, is a big shift. It's driven, I think, and we've talked about it a lot here, and I've written a lot about it throughout 2023. I think it's driven by UAE's new membership in the BRICS alliance. The BRICS has ambitions to become the preeminent international oil consortium globally, and to displace the G7 in that status. And they added 6 new countries, including the UAE and Saudi Arabia, in August to their membership. And I think BRICS versus G7 politics are playing a big role in this. So I think it's very significant too that the UAE makes this announcement the week it is hosting the COP28 conference in Dubai. And so this is, just another sign of the failure of the Biden administration's foreign policy and its fading influence in the Middle East in general, which is a real tragedy for the United States.
You guys, I think I've had the pleasure now to know y'all for several years now, and this has been something you both have been talking about since I met y'all. That was whether it was we're going to go to the yen or were we going to go to the ruble, because I think that's what Russia uses. But y'all have continued to mention that, hey, at some point with this administration, we're going to lose our status at trading oil with the United States currency. And that, again, is huge. Like David, your article today wrote. And this really, I want to kind of just say on how quickly, David, you move, you understand, and why people definitely need to be, or really why more people need to follow you, because you've got, you got great people that,
come on, people, get in line here.
And they need to subscribe to your Substack. But no, this is literally it is less than 24 hours old of this news, and you've already got a great grasp on it. You've already been talking to people and even understanding more. So David, I want to just say kudos to you and everything that you do to stay on. And I know you're not a journalist or a news reporter. I know you're not. And then you tell me that all the time. But yes. God dang, you can do
Don't call me that.
See, but dang, you can do some great reporting, David. So this is perks me up a little bit here because with BRICS 90, or excuse me, not BRICS, but the UAE not even being the main player in BRICS or in the Middle East, and they're the first ones to do this. I mean, we could really sit here and say that the first domino has dropped. And, I don't think it's outrageous to say we could see more dominoes drop within the next 12 months before their election in 2024. What do you all think?
David, I'm going to throw this ugly squirrel in here. Yeah. There's a couple things. India and Russia has been trading in their currency, and they've been doing it. The EU is trying to shut down some more sanctions, and we know, as Irina Slav says, sanctions don't work as intended. Those sanctions were trying to tell Russia don't sell over $60, and they go, but my lousy Putin imitation. Hey, I could care less. So I still don't know if that's Fonzie or Fuzzy Bear or Fozzie. Who knows? It ain't Putin, but it's funny. And so then when you take a look at the US dollar, David and RT, you take a look at who's buying the US debt is using the petrodollar and everything else. And as they move away from the dollar, you nailed it, David, with the BRICS and everything else, so that I think the demise of the US dollar is, even though they're saying the petrodollar, I think this is going to spill over. What are y'all's thoughts?
Well, I think that we call it the petrodollar mainly because oil is the most traded commodity globally, and has been for a long time. But really, the United States dollar has been the prevailing currency of mark in all international trades for all commodities and goods for a century now. And to see it start to fade like this, this is not some little podunk country. This is a very significant oil power, and for them to take that step is a very significant thing. And it's really kind of surprising because the UAE relationship with the United States supposedly has been fairly healthy. And so I just, I saw that headline this morning and it really caught me off guard. And I think it's a real shock to the system, and I think it'll
Now,
make more news as the week goes on.
RT, Hamas, isn't Hamas headquarters in the UAE, or am I no, that's in Qatar. Qatar, thank you. Yeah, Qatar, UAE,
well, they're next door to each other, right?
Sorry.
Anyway, so I think it's a big deal. RT, what do you think?
No, again, I do, and I think that we're going to see more dominant. I mean, I'm going to say it, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to see more dominoes fall before the election of 2024.
Well, I think we could. I mean, the United States relationship with Saudi Arabia is so fragile right now, and really has been severely damaged by this administration. When you look back just 4 years ago, where Donald Trump, for whatever else you think about him, had really strengthened that relationship, both with Saudi Arabia and Israel in the Middle East, and the damage that's been done by this administration to the Saudi relationship is just incalculable. And it wouldn't surprise me a bit if Saudi Arabia, started making noises about making a similar move. Now, I know our friend Anas Al-Haji would disagree with that. He thinks that all of this is overblown, and I'll be interested to see his commentary about it here in the next few days.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I mean, where was I going with that? It just really should start to worry us all. And you talked about, love them or hate them. And I guess I'll get off of oil here for a sec. Is the media did no justice when Donald Trump went to Saudi Arabia, went here, as 50% of America now thinks that he was the problem with the Middle East. And yet the Abraham Accords, who all of a sudden the Biden administration is now somehow taking credit for, which, hey, that happens in every administration. I will say that, right? Just like they're still blaming COVID on Donald Trump, about the economy. But you're absolutely right. There were so many great things that were done. And, my worry is if he is to get into office for just another 4 years, is there really enough time to re-strengthen all these true relationships that America, not Donald Trump, that America had, that for whatever reason, President Obama's administration and President Biden's administration are pushing away. The fact that this administration will not just straight up condone what Hamas is doing, the way that they are not working with the Middle East. There's a lot going on here, guys. And, it just raises a bunch of random questions, but they are not being pro-America. And that just bothers me like no other.
Well, I think the real issue here is for many decades, the United States, even though you would frequently change presidencies between the two parties, we had a very clear and consistent continuity in our posture and our relations with all these governments in the Middle East, most importantly, Saudi Arabia and Israel. And, this is what has kind of been damaged to a great extent in this presidency, is that we no longer have had that continuity of a consistent posture with Saudi Arabia. And, once you've damaged that, and once that goes away, it's going to be very difficult to restore. It'll have to be restored over several subsequent presidencies. So I just think it's a very underrated problem for our country.
Yeah, for our podcast listeners, RT's evidently run out of power in Texas.
No.
So, I'm here in West Texas, and I got generators, and I could survive without the grid. But when you sit back, David, and we take a look at that, I truly believe that if Trump, love him, hate him, he does some silly things. But if he does get back in, I think that RT's point is fabulous. Don't tell him I'm complimenting him, but it is an excellent point, and I think it's going to be his successor, his vice presidency is going to be just as critical as if whoever wins the Republican nomination. And I want to go on record as saying that I believe that there's just as many corrupt Republicans as corrupt Democrats out there. I am not a politician fan, and I am anybody that's an outsider. I'm in. Let's vote them all out of office, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really strong point, because if Trump were reelected or elected to a second term, he would immediately be a lame duck president, because he wouldn't be eligible to stand for reelection in 2028. So who he picks as his vice president is going to be crucial as a signal, not just to voters in the United States, but governments of other countries, that there's at least a prospect for continuity of government beyond these 4 years. And that means that he can't just go off and pick anyone to be his running mate. He can't, do another Mike Pence kind of thing. I think he has to be really careful about picking someone like Carrie Lake, who, I don't have a problem with Carrie Lake, but she's not, I don't think, would not be seen as a potential electable successor to President Trump. Now,
what about Tucker Carlson?
Tucker Carlson, I think you get a variety of opinions on that. I enjoy Tucker Carlson as a talk show host, a news show host, and a commentator. I think he has a lot of views I agree with. Some I don't, but would he be seen as by the governments in China and Saudi Arabia and other countries as a likely electable successor to Donald Trump? That's an open question.
Oh, yeah. I like your answer, David. I truly do. I mean, because I love Tucker. I think Tucker is a hoot. Now, like you said, is he an electable? I will say this, all of his interactions with world leaders right now has been phenomenal. Yeah. The dude is out pressing the flesh with world leaders. I'll give him that.
The interview he did with the new incoming president in Argentina recently was tremendous. He interviewed the leader in Hungary. It was Hungary a few weeks ago, and that was just tremendous, the information he got out of that interview. And I think he does have credibility with a lot of these people.
Oh, yeah.
I just, frankly, he gave a speech in Las Vegas weekend before last that I thought was so significant and powerful that I reposted it on my Substack, my political Substack, and along with a transcript that I compiled of it, because I just think it was a really brilliant speech. But he is not someone who's ever won an election, and even though he's been around a long time in the media, it's a different thing. So I wouldn't have a problem with Tucker Carlson necessarily as the Republican Party's running mate, but I know a lot of people would.
We got about 5 more minutes, David, but I'll tell you, what do you think about JFK and the third party folks running? Do you? I like it.
Yeah, not JFK.
RFK. Excuse me. Yeah. Well, he is dead, and he could vote Democratic. I mean, just kidding. No, I'm not. What do you think about third party candidates?
Well, there's going to be several, obviously. I mean, RFK Jr. is one of them. He's going to be, I guess, run as an independent. It doesn't appear he's going to be the Libertarian candidate or the Green Party candidate. And then you've got Joe Manchin out there running around the country with Mitt Romney, thinking they may run as a kind of middle of the road ticket. And
Losers. Losers.
yeah,
Excuse me.
well, I think so. And RFK Jr., I think, is right about some things. I think he's very much right about the true nature of Anthony Fauci and the disastrous response to COVID by our federal government under two
And the
different
CIA and the FBI
and the CIA. And yeah, I mean, he's right about a lot of things. But at his base, RFK Jr. is no different than Joe Biden in terms of being a left-wing Democrat. And so while there's a handful of things I think he's very much right about, I think he's wrong about a lot more, and I would never vote for him.
Did you hear what he said about fracking?
Yeah, he wants to ban it.
Yeah. I'm like,
he's been an advocate for banning hydraulic fracturing for 15 years. I mean, he's been one of the leading voices.
I heard that, I was over here going, yay, I think he might be a good fit. And I heard that and I'm like, you're out.
I mean, yeah. I just think he's a non-starter from an energy standpoint. His policies would be every bit as disastrous as what Biden's doing right now. And so I don't see him as anyone I could support. I think he'll steal a lot of votes from Joe Biden, but I think he'll also take a lot of votes away from Donald Trump, from Trump supporters who don't do a deep dig into what he's really about. And so I think it's just kind of a zero-sum game as far as influencing the outcome of the election.
Well, cool. Well, David, what's coming around the corner? Hey, NAPE. I cannot be even more excited about NAPE. We've talked about that. It's going to be a hoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to get down there with you. And you're going to have a live podcast booth and everything else. What's coming around? What else do you see coming around the corner from a news perspective?
Well, I'm going to be writing a lot about the COP28 conference over the next couple of weeks. I have no doubt there's going to be a flood of idiotic stuff coming out of that conference, and very significant stuff as well that will impact everyone, mostly negatively. And so I'll be focusing on that a lot. But we have, some really good interviews coming up as well on the energy question. I'll be doing another monthly episode with Tim Stewart here soon, and we have a lot of other folks lined up.
That sounds fabulous. I'll tell you, I've got a lot of good ones too that I got to get over to you and turned on. And we got CIA operatives and everything else coming. So your conspiracy theory is huge, and you need to interview him, George McClellan, and they're about to release it, as well as Mark Masters. You need to interview both.
Oh, Mark Masters, yeah, I'm fully aware of Mark Masters. Would love to have, maybe we need to start a new conspiracy theory podcast and just do nothing but that on a different podcast.
I think we should. We owe it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Now that you and I are getting shut down by Google, and we're still getting our word out there. So anyway, well, thank you so much. And it sure was fun having RT drop off. That was sure considerate.
Yeah, that was excellent. That was a great feature of this episode.
Oh, absolutely. Well, with that, thank you all very much for stopping by the Three Podcasters Walk in the Bar. For RT, the Crude Truth, David Blackmon, the Energy Question and the Energy Transition, and me, I'm Stu Turley with the Energy News Beat. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Adios.